Dragon Knight's Ring, Order of the Dragon Knights, Book 5, written by Mary Morgan, narrated by Jamie Dion. Chapter 1. The Standing Stones in Urquhart Glen, Semaine 1204. Adam held her trembling body against his chest, listening to her painful pleas. "Ye must flee this place. They are coming," Meggie protested. "How do you ken?" He waved his hand about. "'Tis only a fierce storm that is coming." She shook her lovely head. Nay, I can feel my brother's powers." Kissing her forehead, he gazed into her eyes that held fear. The MacKays were intent on destroying their happiness. "I will nae let ye suffer the wrath of your brothers." Adam brought her cold hands to his lips. "This was to be our wedding eve, and so it shall be." She shook her head. "Nay, they're too close. Shh, Glennon." He moved her toward one of the standing stones. "We are in a place of beauty and magic. The light of the Fae surrounds the glen. Naught will happen to us. I shall protect ye. I love ye, Meggie." "And I love ye too, Adam, but—" Adam silenced her words with a soul-searing kiss. He would not be swayed to believe her brothers were on their way. Aye, a storm built around them, but he deemed it to be one of simply nature to herald the fest of Semaine. When he opened his eyes, she smiled fully at him. "Must ye always stop my words with a kiss? Forever." "Ye die, MacFhearguis!" Duncan MacKay roared the words as he stepped into the glen. He waved his sword high and brought his special power of lightning far too near where he and Meggie stood. Instantly Adam shoved Meggie behind him. Reluctantly unsheathing his sword, he shouted, "Will ye not listen, Duncan?" "Nay!" Meggie's brother thrust his sword outward, but Adam blocked the blow. Yet the man swiftly turned and slammed a fist to his jaw. "Ye were warned, MacFhearguis," he spat out. "Duncan, I beg ye to cease," demanded Meggie. The ground rumbled under Adam's feet. Glancing to his right, he saw Alistair MacKay striding forward. Never had he feared these men, but the rage on their faces was one he had never witnessed. He had to get Meggie away from them. Duncan pointed his sword to Alistair in warning. "He is mine." "Why?" asked Alistair, raising his axe high above his head. "Do ye think to claim the head of a MacFhearguis without me?" As the two MacKay brothers argued, a third brother, Stephen, approached and dismounted from his horse. Adam slowly stepped back, reaching for Meggie's hand. "Stay back, Alistair," shouted Duncan. When Duncan, in his black rage, slashed his blade through Alistair's arm, Meggie screamed and pulled herself free from Adam's grasp. The deafening roar of the wind drowned out the injured MacKay's cries, while Adam tried in vain to hold Meggie back. Lightning flashed overhead, and he struggled to see. Blinking several times, his sight finally cleared. Adam watched in horror as Duncan's sword pierced Meggie's flesh. His heart shattered like 1,000 shards of glass before he realised the pain was not just from his aching soul, but that the MacKay's blade had also found a home in his flesh as well. Meggie's screams filled his head and mingled with his own cries when Duncan pulled the sword free. Time slowed as they both fell to the ground, his head smacking against a boulder. The shouts of the MacKays echoed in the glen as Adam desperately fought the wave of blackness descending over him. As he drifted into the dark abyss, Adam's last thoughts were of Meggie. He prayed fate would let them be reunited in the land of forever. "Forgive me, Meggie, I will forever love ye, lass," he whispered, and slipped into what surely would be death's waiting embrace. The Great Glen in Scotland, September 1207. The howling wind and icy rain slashed at Adam MacFhearguis's face, while his cloak flapped furiously around his body. The elements of the Highlands welcomed him, yet he remained frozen, unmoving as he stared across the heather-drenched hills, his gaze focused on the one looming structure, Castle Cleoman. Dark and brooding in the grey light of day, the ghosts of the past now beckoned him to return home. He could hear their whispers through the mists, luring him to another time, a time when he had known happiness. However, he could not venture forward in joy. This was not a triumphant return, nay, it was closure on a dead and forgotten. There would be no more laughter, shouts of jubilation, or arms to wrap him in love. The mere thought of her, Margaret, sent a chill of pain slashing at his heart, and Adam clutched the cross that hung around his neck. Was she in the place they called heaven, or did her soul slip into the abyss of Tir na Og?